I told that story just like 3 weeks ago. I couldn't stand up with a blanket on me without falling over. But yes, I have mastered the arts of the ninja.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Miss Danae Hughes.
Regretting the ham and beans.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. I'm sorry, I should have called you Mrs. I don't know why I said Miss. I apologize. That was a weird thing.
I don't.
It doesn't matter though, right?
It.
Yeah.
Not to me.
Yeah.
To some, it might matter, but not to me.
I can never tell like if people say Ms. or Mrs. half the time. So
yeah, it's super important. Super important. Don't want to say the wrong title. That would be.
But what if she got
thing.
divorced yesterday? I mean, we don't know.
So we don't know.
Maybe
You called her the
yesterday.
right thing. I mean, I see Justin in the background crying. I don't know why he's crying.
Maybe he just got dunked on.
Wow, that's like a callback to an old video plus an old podcast episode.
Right. See, I just
love it.
Yeah, that's a big stretch. Hope you all got that one.
I can't believe.
Go
yeah,
ahead.
this week I learned about. I was trying to think of an old YouTube video that's really old, but I couldn't think of anything, so that joke got ruined. Never mind.
my new favorite thing on Behind the Sins is Jonathan giving up on a joke halfway through. It's the best
Yeah, you
thing,
got to, man.
It's the best
That's
thing
like
ever.
you do that. We do that when we're writing too.
Right,
I know you guys do.
That was Danae's joke last time. Was welcome to the writing process.
I'll be typing something out and just be like, it'll be the same thought process. I'll be like, nope, can't do that.
No,
so,
didn't work.
Here we go back.
Do you do what I do, where you just write the same sin over and over and over again, in, like at different parts in your script until it's like, oh yeah, that's the one that makes sense. And you go back and you're like,
Yeah,
oh
maybe.
shit, now I
do
have
it
to come up with a whole bunch more.
I try to figure out if I want to actually have a run on with jokes or if I just want to have one. So maybe, yeah, probably. I also make notes sometimes and then I forget to go back and delete them or add stuff to them. So sometimes you get like a weird thing where it just says like butt sex and Aaron's like, what are you sending here?
It's true.
Is this
true
like
story.
a grocery list item or?
What store do you shop at, Danae?
Yeah.
Can you point me to the butt sex
I
aisle?
really hope they changed their practices during the COVID-19 scare. Jesus.
That's right. Good night. Yeah, Danae and I are
That's
writing
who has
on
all the sanitary stuff.
Danae and I are writing on one right now, where I had a running joke, but it was only a running joke of two, and Danae was like, "Why don't we just pick one? Because it's not really a running joke at that point." I was like, "Okay, you're probably right." So.
Yeah, that was actually hard to do. I've been asked, in the last few months to be more like directive in my note givings and stuff like that. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to step up. It's not just, hey, here's my stuff, new girl. It's like, hey, you need to give feedback now. And I'm like, oh, that's uncomfortable, but okay.
Chris shadowed a script with me and Aaron recently, and we usually like his additions are usually just awesome. But he had one where it was just it was kind of argumentative, and I think Aaron and I both commented on it. And then what did he say? He said something like, "I like it when you guys push back on mine." I'm like, we're not like purposely not pushing back
No,
on them.
you're
Usually they're
awesome.
just really good because
Yeah.
you're really good at this.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do it more, even for ones that are awesome. We'll tell you they're bad.
Yeah. We'll just be like, no, fuck you, Chris. This is terrible.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a Chris and Jeremy script today that was just another one of those like, oh yeah, these guys know how to do this kind of thing. Like you watch it and you're like, I've got so far to grow. Like it's just so much great stuff.
Throw in the towel.
Yeah. There's
Why did they hire me?
I like my paycheck too much. I'm not throwing in the towel.
That's right.
I'll keep being mediocre as long as they keep paying me. I'm fine.
That's right.
Oh man. You guys ready to get into it?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
Let's start with the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos that released on the CinemaSins different channels this week, talk a little bit about the process of sending them, how we felt about the show or movie in general, and also some of our favorite sins, those kind of fun things. We kick it off in the TV sins world. We're still on SpongeBob SquarePants, but this is the last one, Frakendoodle. I shouldn't say it is the last one. It's the last in this run, at least.
I have a feeling we'll probably be doing
It's
more
been
SpongeBob
fun
at some point. Yeah.
I've really enjoyed doing SpongeBob. This was a Hughes Watkins script, so Danae and Jonathan. No, no, it's not. Did I get that wrong?
I did not write on this.
Hold on. Did I not adjust all the other names are right? Yeah, I think they are.
Hope so.
I think they are.
You have one job, Aaron.
I know. I messed it up. It is a Dicer Hughes script. Danae and I wrote on this one for Frakendoodle, which of course is the one where SpongeBob magically finds a pencil that has been dropped to the bottom of the ocean instead of floating.
God,
for
this
some
looked
reason.
weird. I have not seen this. I just watched the video. This looked really bizarre. This looked like if you were taking something of medicinal value.
Yeah.
You might get something different out of this episode.
Yeah, the premise of this episode is that a pencil sinks to the bottom of the ocean and can create life, essentially.
Yes. Yeah. At least for SpongeBob.
I think it's weird when they do the live action stuff too. Like, I know they've done that in one of the movies too, but like, it's so bizarre because we had that with the Super Bowl thing with the football game where they showed the actual crowd.
Yeah, anything above the ocean is usually live action, I guess.
Yeah.
So you said at least for SpongeBob, but Patrick drew a little jellyfish too. So
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Patrick.
it's a magic pencil.
It is definitely a magic pencil. And,
This is one of those moments when my daughter wanted to watch this show with me, and so the last few that I've worked on was like Chocolate with Nuts, which had an obsession with chocolate and screaming. So then you kind of know what's going to get in her little head, right? So now she's sort of more interested in chocolate. Imagine that. And she's definitely screaming more. So maybe that was part of the problem. I don't know. It's frustrating because I'm like, I exposed her to this and now she's doing this thing. Was it the same thing? But then Frakendoodle, she wanted to watch that one. And I'm like, oh, man, it's a little bit dark. I mean, SpongeBob straight up kills somebody in this episode.
Yeah, but she's not going to get that though.
And it's kind of got this, where the pencil tries to come to life and retaliate. And there's just this sort of more aggressive energy in this. So she watched this one and she wants to watch it all the time now. So I've really screwed my kid up at this point.
No, it's one of those things as a parent, like, listen, the...
What am I saying? She's downstairs watching Lion King with my husband.
Right.
That's messing her up.
Right.
That's the problem.
What I was going to say. Like, it's one of those things where there is definitely something with kids where they do copy what they see. That's a legitimate thing. I remember showing my boys Karate Kid when they were age 2 to 8, the 4 of them, and they beat each other up for the next month. Like, it was just, they wanted to do what they saw in the movie. And I was saying the same thing as you. I've made a terrible mistake. My children are now going to be aggressive people. But the good news is the majority of what they learn to enact is what they see you do. Or maybe that's the bad news. I don't know. It depends on who you are.
Which is why I should stop yelling so much.
It's why you should stop creating magic drawings with pencils, Danae. It's just.
Did you see Back to the Future when it came out, Aaron? I know you didn't see it in the theater.
No.
But did you get to watch it at a young age?
I had watched it before I went before high school, I think. I had watched it.
Yeah, I just remember that was one where my mom was just like, God damn it, because of course, like, me and my friends just wanted to ride skateboards holding on to the back of moving vehicles.
No.
Like, that was all we wanted to do. And Teen Wolf wasn't any better because fucking Michael J. Fox, man, he was screwing up kids. Because Teen Wolf, they ride on the top of vans. So that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll happen. All right, back to Frakendoodle. I don't really have much more to say about SpongeBob that I haven't already said. I think in general I love it, but I love it because I realize how non sequitur it really is. It's not trying to say anything, be anything, do anything other than we think this is funny, Yeah,
and it's just silliness.
And this episode specifically, I really liked. I have a thing for animated shows that play with the meta-ness of animating within the animation. Like, growing up, that was one of my favorite things. Like, if I'd see a Disney short or something like that, where the animator started playing into the story and they would erase the character or draw more for the character. Like, for whatever reason, that clicked this part of my meta brain that I really enjoyed. And so that, I really enjoyed that here as well. So, but I don't really have anything else to say.
Who came up with the Doodle Bops outtake?
That was me.
That shocked me. My daughter watched. Talk about a show my daughter watched as a kid that was annoying when she was younger. Was Doodle Bops came on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, it did.
When she was really young, and I still know songs from that show. That's how much I was exposed to it. In fact, my wife quite frequently sing "Get on the Bus" to each other.
That is a weird show, man. That is a
weird show.
It's so
weird. Even weirder than SpongeBob.
Yes,
somehow.
I think you're right. Kids TV, man.
Especially live action shows like that. It made the Wiggles look normal.
Right? Right. Mm-hmm. Very good point. Either of you guys have anything to say about the episode itself before we move on to the sins?
Since I didn't write on it, I'll just say a few that I really liked. It was really funny. Jesus Banksy just got real dark.
Yep.
Danae mentioned the murder, but I like that you guys brought that up when he erases the thing. And then at one point it just says, you guys just said, "Dear God, are we still sending the logic of SpongeBob?"
Yes.
And then I wrote "spare me" down, and I don't remember what that was in reference to.
Oh, it's just a pun. It's a bowling pun.
Oh, that's right. Yes, now I remember. Mm-hmm. That was really funny. Oh, and then the or you could, swim. That was also.
That's the main thing in this world that gets me. It's just like, you're in water. Yeah. Why are you pretending like gravity is a problem here?
Yeah.
Cup your hands.
So many times.
Why would you have a pool? Why would you have a bathtub?
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, or you could, sorry to sound like a broken record here. Just swim. Just swim out of that thing. Fine. Just fine. I wrote down, is this pencil made of hopes and dreams? Because it sank so fast. I thought that was hilarious. And also, Danae, I was glad that you like that. I just completely missed that. I completely missed that pencils float. They don't sink.
They float.
And that one sank like it was made of, well, actual lead instead of, a little bit of lead in the middle of wood. So
yeah,
there was lead in it.
I definitely went to a few sources just to confirm, because, you think something and then you write a sin and then the internet reams you. So you end up researching things that you know
right.
just to make sure that you know. And so I went to some YouTube channels where they do fun experiments for children. Will this sink or float? It's yeah, they still float. And then I read about there are some pencils that are made differently. Oh, is it a mechanical pencil or is it this? But as long as it's like a normal pencil, that thing will float.
It's certainly not dropping like that.
Nope.
Let's see. The magic pencil can draw color now as well. Just, this pencil can just do whatever they want it to do. I thought it was a good observation. And yes, I also wrote down what you said, Jonathan. I'm beginning to think this magic pencil is putting too much emphasis on the magic part and not enough emphasis on the "dear God, are we still sinning the logic of SpongeBob" part.
That was a really good sin. You did great on that one. I also like the one that you wrote, because you wrote the sin about the buttholes. And then, just the moment whenever he erases the pants and then he's like, oh, he's got 2 buttholes on his right cheek. And then I think that maybe it was in the combine process that I'm like, well, he's got buttholes everywhere then. And so we added that, oh my God, is he covered in buttholes? Just that sort of hilarious revelation that SpongeBob is just a whole bunch of buttholes. I think that was really funny. And this one had some of my, some classic Dicer puns that I really loved. This villain isn't really dead. He's only been disarmed. Mm-hmm. Cliche. And it was his arm.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, how do you do this? The final sin being, this is so disappointing because the point was missing.
Right.
And I really appreciated, because I was trying to figure out how to create one sin, and Aaron really zhuzhed this one up with Best Friends Like This Who Needs Anemones, because Patrick was basically just dragging SpongeBob for being square and having a buck teeth and a tie, and SpongeBob is like, hey, what about me? And Patrick's kind of like, oh no, it looks good on you though, buddy. And I couldn't figure out a way to sin that moment, but the anemones one is perfect for that. So again, that's why we have 2 people writing on these things, because
and of course that's famously done in Finding Nemo as well, except for I think he says with Franz like these who needs an anemone, which is a word I have trouble saying.
I hate that word.
All right, let's move on to Archer Skytanic. This was a Dicer Watkins script. Jonathan and I wrote on this.
Are you sure about that?
I'm 100% sure. I love this show so much.
I do too.
The writing on this, I think throughout, but especially those early seasons, is just so on point and so clever. And I just rewatching this episode. This episode is just great. It's just so.
This is one of the
done.
best episodes. I remember when I watched this because I watched this from the beginning when it started airing, and there was great episodes before this because this was like the 9th episode or something like that.
Yeah,
7th episode. Right. This was the one where I remember watching it, going like, "Oh yeah, this show rocks!" Like, because I mean, this just feels like the culmination of what they were trying to do, and like they knew exactly where they needed to be to show. Because this episode just has a lot of classic stuff in it, namely Danger Zone, which I still to this day annoy the fuck out of my wife saying to her as much as I possibly can. But yeah, there's just a lot of great things, and then even like the introduction of all of a sudden I forgot his name, but the homosexual character. This was kind of his first episode where they showed him, I guess, and he became a main character on the show. And why can't I think of his name all of a sudden?
Well, it's just because we're human, and we don't.
Yeah. But anyways,
you only have so much room in your brain, man. You know,
I
you
know.
only have so much room there.
But
Remember
this is one of my favorite.
Like
this is one of my all-time favorite comedic shows for sure.
Yeah.
I think I like this the way that like Rick and Morty fans like Rick and Morty.
Probably. Ray, I think, is the character's
Ray,
name.
yes, it is Ray. Ray Gillette. Yeah, this is kind of the first Ray Gillette episode. He was like a minor character in a couple of previous ones, but but everything just kind of seemed to come together in this one. And the stuff with Cyril and Cheryl and just God, this show's funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Danae, I'm assuming you've never seen the show, or at least never seen this episode.
I've only seen like little bits and pieces of it. I don't really know anything more than the super basic premise. So any like recurring jokes, I don't have any reference for, or characters, or even like character traits. All I know is that Archer is sort of an idiot, but also brilliant at the same time. And it's very sexual.
I love kind of characters like that. Like he's an idiot, but he's also really, really fucking good at what he does.
Right.
And he's also quite, like you said, he uses like really smart words, and like he's very well educated, I guess, even though but at the same time, he's still a dumbass, and he's still a horrible, horrible person.
but not having not watched the show, but then watching the Sins video was interesting because you get another level of exposure to what the show does, the words that it chooses to use, how it curses, the sex jokes, like even like cartoon sex, explicit cartoon sex. Like you can, I didn't realize that it went there or that it does that stuff. So,
oh yes,
I guess I'm going to watch it now. Is what I'm saying.
There's an episode,
not just for that reason.
There's an episode,
no, just for that reason.
I mean, I'm just saying, but they're not afraid to go to those territories, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Let me talk about this. Because I had a scene in the script originally that kind of addressed the idea of when it's animation, somehow it doesn't become exploitation because they aren't actual human beings who you're making be naked or have sex with each other or whatever. And there's talk of like power dynamics in making TV and movies where it's like women talk later about, I felt forced to do this kind of thing, those things. And so with animation, it's almost like there's a freedom there to be a little more explicit with that kind of stuff because these animated characters aren't being exploited. Or,
there's like that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean it's if it were a human, they may feel a little more exploitative. But when it's animation, and also by the way, equal opportunity animation, gender wise, it feels it feels there's more freedom to play around in those areas.
Yeah, they're the best example of that I can think of is in Kill Bill. There's an animated sequence in Kill Bill. It's I believe it's Lucy Liu's character's backstory. Right. And Tarantino said the reason he did it was because he couldn't have shot the scene if he didn't make it animated because it was so dark and it was just not an area, not somewhere he wanted to go. So he had to do it. He had to make it animated. And I agree. But this shows. But that's the cool thing about this show too. Though it's not afraid. Like we've got one. I mean, I guess we're doing like a small run on this, and we've got the next one we're doing. I mean, they tackle some pretty heavy subject matter, but it totally works.
Yeah.
In a way, I don't know. It's just it's a fascinating series.
Danae, since you didn't write on this, why don't you talk about stuff you liked in the video?
I liked the sudden case of Yzma Boob, mostly because I understand that reference.
There were a lot of suggestions in the comments for what those shadows might be.
Probably clothing, right?
There were different types of clothing that people mentioned. What I'm just going to say is nobody can agree, and that makes this invalid. So,
oh sure, but it's just fun to think about and how low it was on the side of the.
Right,
like it was basically the very last rib, and to think about that being Yzma's boob, it's just that's exactly where it was. So that was really fun to me. It has that similar vibe to it of when we did Futurama, when it was like Lana's a cartoon, like. We did that before too.
Yeah, we did. That was I put that in there because that's kind of a running thing. I think even on the pilot of Archer, we did that with Lana.
That scene then too. Yeah.
So I actually forgot we did it on with Leela too. That's funny.
And I just remember that because I don't remember why I know that, but it's fun to me because in this one, like it's a lot more obvious, very, very curvy and lingerie-y. I love the series about the map, just kind of honing in on going on the map. But my biggest one for this is who decided to just go crazy with the clock countdown?
Aaron.
Who did that?
That was me.
That was so long and perfect because it's you think you know what's going to happen. And then it's like, oh, no, it's so good. Oh, we're sitting this. But you know what? We can't really sit. So it's like this back and forth like it's a conversation that the narrator is having. And it's one of those where there's so many details that are kind of coming together. So you have to have the visuals on top of the audio happening at the same time for it to stay interesting. And I really found that one to be very interesting and fun. And I liked it a lot. So good job.
I was glad he wrote something. I was going to bring that up too, because I definitely, anytime a timer comes up, I pay attention because most movies and shows screw that up big time. But then they didn't screw it up. They did everything perfectly. So I just went past it. But Aaron decided to write a whole series of sins about it, which worked out really well.
Well, I had this in keeping tabs to possibly talk about, but I have another keeping tab I can use. So I'll talk about it now. It really is an accurate representation of what happened in my brain. I mean, I just decided to write what happened, which is I was like, haha, gotcha, Archer. You did a timer. Bad move. And then every one I checked, just down the line, it was exactly correct. And I thought, I'll write that. And then I thought, let's go to the next level and see if we can get them once it speeds up. And what's crazy about that timer is it speeds up to exactly whatever I say in the video. I don't remember right now. I think it's 4 times. It speeds up 4 times as fast. And the math still works out. They had every permission not to care at that point. Once you speed up the timer, it doesn't really matter. We can't really prove you wrong. But it works. It speeds up exactly 4 times.
But what's funny is, though, that was still a very problematic scene, though, because the whole thing with the Ray character, like, they're on video with him. And they never just show the back of the bomb or the the label or it, I mean, it's, so we were able to also dig into those types of things. And then I think the biggest, because that's the thing with Archer, I mean, it's obviously it's supposed to be over the top and it's supposed to be silly, but there were things in here we were able to grab onto, like the captain's plan didn't make any sense. And that didn't feel like it was just the point. Like there were just, because I mean, like, there was, I think Chris actually added that sin. Maybe you wrote it. It wasn't me, I know, where he makes the comment, like, no one wants to ride on a blimp for a week. And he's like, yeah, but wasn't it sold out?
Right. Yeah.
Sounds like everybody wanted to ride the damn blimp, We also got called out on that, by the way. Did you see that in the comments we made the comment about him saying that the cabins were full? So how would Archer and Lana have a cabin? And then people basically said, well, that's why they were full, because he had one set aside for them, which fine. If you want to nitpick us, we're nitpicking. So
I think we could. I'd have to go back and check, but the idea was there were 2 extra cabins when there should have only been 1. I think.
That was the understanding that all 3 of us had, including Chris, and so I feel comfortable with that. But whatever. I mean, I'm cool with being nitpicked. I'm nitpicking, so whatever.
I got nitpicked on one of my sins on this that I'm saving for the comment section, cool. And I'll just say I was wrong. I'll just tease it by saying I was wrong. So I'm excited to talk about how I messed up one of the sins a little bit.
But one thing about the comments to this one I did want to point out was that people seemed really happy that we took so many sins off. What's funny about that, though, is they're not recognizing that we added a bunch of sins.
That's right.
So we could take them off.
That's right, we did.
If that makes you happy, you're welcome.
We're just doing our part. The only other thing that hasn't been mentioned is I really love the line, "It was my sin and you took it." That really made me laugh.
that was one because I don't know. I guess we all try to like take the older running gags and do new twists on them, and that was just something that popped up. I feel like I used that again. In fact, what's really funny. Well, that's never mind. I'll talk about that when we talk about Skywalker. But yeah. No, that was a fun one to write.
The moment where she's like, Captain Lammers, and he goes, "Good read, Velma." Maybe one of the single funniest moments in television history. I laugh so hard at that every single time it happens.
Oh, it's so great.
Good. What a statement. Television history.
I'm telling you, man, that is just so
this
perfect.
Is like this. I mean, this episode is. I mean, it's from beginning to end. It's almost perfect. Like it like never misses a beat the whole way through, like with the comedy. But Aisha Tyler's reading of that line, I think, is what sells it.
Oh yeah,
she sounds straight up like Velma.
Yeah.
Or Daphne or whoever, she sounds like she's in a Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. Anything else before we move on to music video sins?
Nope.
All right, we're going to talk about Blackbear, Hot Girl Bummer.
Nope.
Is that work? Can we all just say nope and move on to CinemaSins? So yeah, this is a song I never heard of before in my life. I'm curious as to you guys.
You're lucky. No, my daughter has played this song nonstop for a period of time before, and it's horrendous. It's honestly, since I've been working on this channel, it's one of the worst songs that we've covered.
Yeah,
I think personally.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, it's up there with like Rebecca Black's Friday. Like it's up there. It's not good.
Well, it does this thing that a lot of songs do, and we haven't gone into, you guys are old people tearing down young music in a while, so I'll go ahead and go there. But it does this thing where
hold on. Let me get your little walker so you can have some stability.
Thank you. Make sure you get the tennis balls on the legs for me.
I can tell you, man, because you guys don't see us visually, Aaron is more laid back today than I've ever seen him in my life. Like he is just. Because it's like you even have like a weird perspective going when your hands go towards the screen, like they get like bigger, and because you're just so
He's so far away.
He's got like
it looks like he's in a lounge chair.
You've got like the Hype Williams fish lens going on. Anyways,
it's because of my aching back, kids. My aching back.
My back.
So
my neck.
It does this thing that a lot of songs do and movies and TV do as well sometimes, where it's like, hey, we're young, we can just do whatever we want and be whatever we want. And it's like, okay, being young is a reason you're an idiot and you're a jerk, but it's not an excuse. Like you can actually be a decent human being even when you're young. Like it's possible. So like, don't think this song thinks like it's some sort of excuse. Like I can just do this because, I'm young and, whatever. I can do whatever I want. And it's just like, whatever.
To compound on that, though, it's even worse. And what I don't like, this is another thing I don't like with some of these songs when they do this. I feel it is also kind of acting like I hate to say too cool for school. That's so dumb. But like, I don't know. It's acting like it's too cool to be what it is, which is, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think Barrett kind of touches on this as well.
Okay, cool.
With the thoughts that he had. What did Barrett have to say, Danae?
Oh, I don't know. I'm over here on Wikipedia trying to just learn more about this person.
Well, while you're looking that up, I will say my favorite parts of the video are the shout out to Kirby's Dream Land, which is a great video game. I love that shout out. The fractal screensavers bit about Windows 95 I thought was really funny. And they're right there for whatever reason made me giggle quite a bit.
I like Aunt Kathy's gonna be pissed.
That was good too. That was great.
Okay, I found what Barrett had to say.
All right, what do you have to say?
He said, that Blackbear song is immediately hateable. Well, we all agree, my friend. And I think that's what he's going for, an unabashed asshole that dares you to argue with him.
Right.
We all know that guy. Hell, I've unfortunately probably been that guy earlier in my life, and I hate that. And while I can't stand the song, it's an absolute earworm. But the video is objectively horrible. There's no real aesthetic. They're throwing stuff at the wall on the set of what's probably an old mansion that the director's great uncle or something, and this is the best they came up with. God, I hate this guy. But again, I think that's the point. So I guess in some respects, it's successful.
But yeah, but it's like I don't know anything about this guy, so I don't want to judge him. But if if I met him and he ended up being like the biggest asshole I've ever met, I would not be shocked. Like after watching this video,
Maybe it could be a character. Who knows?
Yeah, it could. No, it could be. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to judge because I don't know what he's going for here. But
he turns 30 this year. He's been in the hip hop, pop, trap, R&B, and indie pop culture for a long time.
Yeah, he's been around for a minute.
When he was a teenager, he moved out to LA. And he's just been collaborating with a lot of different kinds of people and partying as well. So, and then he had his first child this year in January.
Well, good. Congratulations.
So maybe he'll calm himself down just a little bit.
Congratulations, Blackbear, or whatever your name is.
But yeah, I don't know anything about this person, but it's hard. It's hard because sometimes you're introduced to an artist and you're like, oh, I just really don't have a desire to kind of like go into your backlog, at all.
Yeah.
And so much so that even like watching this video, this is just one of those where going in that this is literally just us going, we're going to sound like the old hateful people.
No, but I think
that's okay.
I think there's something to be said though. What I was trying to say earlier, I think basically like it's a song that seems to care so little about what it is that why should we care enough to listen to it? And I don't even think it's an earworm. I don't like having to have listened to it a bunch of times because my daughter's upstairs doing TikTok videos to it and stuff.
That's what it is.
It's not an earworm. It's actually it's the opposite. It's like my ears were damaged.
It's a brain drill.
Yeah, it's a brain drill.
I was just trying to mow my grass in this stupid song.
But I did like the sin about it being a new look for Smashing Pumpkins and that it was a bold direction. I did like that one.
If there's nothing else, we'll head on to CinemaSins and start with a little movie called Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. People have been waiting for this one.
Yes, they have. Do we have to start, though, with our conversation about the whole voting thing?
The whole voting thing?
Oh, actually, you know what? The first thing I wrote down on here was Her is way better than this movie.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Danae,
but that was Force Awakens.
Yeah, that was
I'm
Force
talking
Awakens.
about Her is better than Rise
it's
of
different.
Skywalker.
Yeah,
that's different.
Although I will say, Rise of Skywalker, I think I was too nice because we did a mini pod, 3 of us. And I feel like I was too nice on it because now, like, I have no desire to ever watch this movie again. And I think I usually don't say stuff like this, but I think this movie does make Force Awakens worse. Because, now when you watch Force Awakens, you're going to be like, this goes nowhere.
Well, we've got a lot. I mean, we've got a lot of opinions here. I know both Chris and Jeremy wrote some stuff as well, and we've all seen it, so you don't get to take a drink.
Yeah, but this is going to turn into a mini review of the movie. You know that, right?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. We've already reviewed it, so I mean, we can kind of go on from that. I would. Think.
I will say quickly before Danae kind of gives just some thoughts on the movie or whatever, because I don't have a lot to say that I haven't already said.
Yeah,
I did. Oh, Danae.
Sorry.
I know you guys think that was just her making a noise with her mouth. That was not. That was real.
No, that was her. That was her needing to go first. I think
that was the ham. That was the hams and beans.
That was me stopping what I had to say, and it's dead now. I killed it. Go ahead, Aaron.
I did watch this movie again recently with my wife who hadn't seen it, and I don't think you were wrong to like some of the stuff in this movie. I think this movie does some stuff very, very well.
You who? Me?
No, Jonathan said.
I just don't think like it. I've watched it a second time, and it did not. What I liked about it did not hold up as well as I thought it would have.
Okay, I had the opposite experience. Yeah. What I liked about it actually, the second time I liked even more. And I think this movie is a fun movie to watch. I just think it's very, very flawed. And
it's very flawed. It's not terrible. I believe I'm not going that route. I mean, it's a decently made film by J.J. Abrams, so it's fine. But I just hate that they cover this in the video that this. Go ahead, Janae. I don't even know what I was going to say now.
Let it out today.
Waiting for my turn is so fucking hard.
That was hilarious.
It's your turn. We're waiting.
Sorry. No. I felt. Go ahead, Jonathan. Finish what you were saying.
No, it's fine. What was I saying? I was just saying that like I hate that this storyline really doesn't seem to go anywhere. Like, and they talk about this in the video where like all of this, like I don't really get where these people are trying to go, and like I don't get what the bad guys are trying to accomplish, and all of it just kind of goes nowhere. It just kind of meanders, and so now like when you watch Force Awakens, which doesn't really stand on its own 2 feet because it's got to have stuff. It builds up stuff that's coming later. It's just kind of sad to think that it doesn't really go anywhere interesting, in my opinion.
Danae?
That's all I have to say.
I don't remember anything I was gonna say now.
Just dance.
Well, I tell you what. If I start talking, just interrupt me when you have something to say.
No, I
give you
really
permission.
do remember what I was gonna say.
Okay,
I just wanted the audience to go, "What? No." Okay. First question: was I on this mini pod?
Yes.
Cool. I don't remember that at all. Second. I don't remember what I said about it before, obviously, 'cause I don't remember being on the mini pod, so sorry about that. But I remember really loving this movie and having a super fun time. But after watching the Sins video, I think I hate it. like first, let's just go back and like just pat on that thing we said earlier in the episode, that when you see a video like this by the two guys, the two like patriarchs of our channel, like makes you question everything. That's going on while also my love of this movie is crumbling around me. So at the end of watching this video, I'm like, I don't even know what exists anymore. It was a really intense experience where I was like, that was so good and so bad, and I don't even know what's happening.
Well,
anymore.
yeah, and you're a bigger Star Wars fan than I am too, which I should preface that by saying I'm not as into this franchise as everyone else on the Sens team is.
We
So it doesn't really bother me. It's just I find that I don't know, just don't really have an interest in revisiting it.
I could talk about this movie a lot, but I don't want to spend all of our time there. So Danae, let's hear what the guys had to say about their process.
Chris said Rise of Skywalker feels like Disney trying to make up for what they thought was a mistake with The Last Jedi, and they tried to pull it all together in the final chapter. The second movie is considered anti-fan. This one is all about the fans, and it doesn't make sense in the end. The movie is fine. I just didn't like where the story ended up. Let's dig up Emperor Palpatine one more time and force him into the story. Let's have him continue making the same mistakes he made with the original trilogy. The most curious part of the movie is the introduction of the Sith Wayfinder, an absolutely unthought out scavenger hunt for it, and them literally sinking into quicksand right on top of it. And when I first saw the movie, I was generally happy about it, but on the second viewing, the averageness of it was disappointing. Also, with all of that fan service, if you see Luke doing things in death that he did in life, then you should also see a bunch of Jedi ghosts coming to help. So much potential is wasted. And that's what he said. And
I agree with that 100%.
That's the part that was super, super hard for me as I was watching it. I'm like, that's a good, like literally my notes of watching this. I'm not referencing how much I love to sin. I'm like, no, that was a really good point. No, that was a really good point. Why did that happen?
Yeah. You really start to realize what a mess and what a messy, flawed movie it really is.
Yeah, they did their work. They did a good job of sitting it.
I still say it's fun to watch.
It is,
Look,
but it's like in this
totally
case,
get
there's these times whenever like the channel is like everything wrong with, and we have like these fun entertainment jokes, and then there's opportunities to really show flaws of a movie, and this was the prime example of taking a movie that you love and showing legitimate flaws with it, and also having really fun jokes at the same time. And sometimes like you watch something and it's like, I don't know, it's not as emotional. This is definitely one that was more emotional for me. Like some people, right? I see you have chosen death, like in the comments, you know?
Yeah.
So it sort of felt like that a little bit. Do you want me to read what Jeremy said?
Yeah.
Okay. Jeremy said the biggest thing that stands out in Sinning Rise of Skywalker is how little overall plan there was for these 3 movies. If you were going to bring back Palpatine, you could have teased or started that earlier, except you didn't know you were going to do that because you just let every new director do whatever they wanted. And that's the real waste. No coherent plan. And that's why I wrote this in about Kathleen Kennedy doing the Gus Van Sant thing from Jay and Silent Bob and Trevor Rao off in the corner. Even a mediocre plan that created 3 connected films would have been better than this. The obsession, which makes Leia a focal point, really kills a lot of the film's early momentum because every scene with her is awkward and like I'm a dickhead if I bring it up because I don't respect Carrie Fisher or some shit. So that was essentially.
No, I agree with everything he's saying.
I agree with everything both of them say. Yeah,
me too.
I do kind of just wish that they had just gone ahead and let Colin, what's his name, Trevorrow. I kind of wish they'd just let him make his movie because I mean, would it have been Like, it would have been fine. I'm more curious to see what he would have done versus JJ trying to clean up everything.
Yeah.
But whatever.
I agree with everything both of them said, and I think the video and them focus on the two things that make this movie a mess. One is lack of planning, as far as like a throughway for the three movies. It is so evident, and it really damages the final product. And I'm glad they brought that up. And then the other thing is the fan service. Like, it's just it is a movie that is all about that at the expense of stuff that makes sense.
And it's like, and you notice it more in a condensed thing like this. And obviously, we're pointing out everything wrong with it. Like, it's a very purposeful point of what we're doing. But seeing it all together like that, it's so undeniable. And that was difficult for me specifically because I had such a fun time watching this. But like, literally every note, it's like, Chewbacca's death. Yeah, why didn't they see this? Like, oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's an interesting thing about the weapon in the ruins. Like, what if the ruins would have changed shape over time? Then what? So when was that weapon created? And it's just like you start questioning everything, and then you realize how much of it's just you just unplug your brain and you go along for a happy ride of nostalgia. And so it turned the movie kind of more into extreme conveniences and fan service for me, which is a little bit of a bummer, but I'm still going to say I had a really good time watching it because I really
definitely I had a fun time at the at the IMAX screening watching it. Did you guys read much of the comments, the YouTube comments on this one? I didn't make it very far into them because a certain section of this fan base just drives me nuts. But it
the
makes
Star
me
Wars fan base?
Just a section of them. Most Star Wars fans I know personally are some of the coolest people I know, like the two of you. But but there are certain people. But my favorite comment, somebody actually made a comment. It was on a thread. But so Jeremy and Chris, they took off a bunch of sins they took off some sins at the end, and they said they liked the ending, which I meant to ask them about that because I kind of wonder if that was they did mean it, but at the same time, they knew that would irritate people.
It's my favorite part of the video.
Yeah, I think it is mine too.
For the first thing, because I think they meant it. Because I mean it. Okay, I really think that ending is powerful. I think the whole movie is about your name and who you get to decide. Who you identify with. You're not stuck with your history.
I think I agree with you. I think I totally agree with you. But what was funny was somebody made, I can't believe they took sins off for that. I didn't care for that ending, which was a very fine comment. I mean, that one wasn't the bad. But there was one like in the middle of the thread. It said something along the lines of, I knew all along that they were just being paid by Hollywood to make these videos.
They may be kidding.
I was like, yes. I was like, let me get my check out here that is signed by Hollywood.
That's right. I had a friend.
Oh my God! If you think Hollywood is paying us, just
I had a friend in high school named Holly Woods.
Yeah, there was the guy's name's Hollywood in the Mannequin movies.
There you go.
Maybe it's him. Maybe it's that guy.
The video,
but that was oh my God. I got the impression that wasn't a joke. Like this person believed like studios are like, hey, do Sins videos about our shit, and we'll write you a check.
That's not been my experience.
Yeah, no.
The video itself, kind of what you were referencing, Danae. I loved the tearing apart of the Wayfinder. I thought that was expertly done. Just how ridiculous those MacGuffins are. It's practically a speed run made me giggle. I love the idea that she's been playing this video game so long. The necklace snatching since Bruce Wayne's parents made me laugh.
Oh, that was so brutal.
Oh, I had that written down.
I wrote that down too.
That was great. I love the subtlety of the sounds about right sin, where right is spelled WRITE. I just really love
that.
Love the subtlety of that. Hand service was great.
Yes.
I will say one thing I disagree. A point that I think they were making validly was that they didn't like the lightsaber battle in the water. It's like my favorite part of the movie. I love that battle so much. And so that was kind of one of those things where I was like, I don't really agree with you. But then really enjoyed the section on the Emperor has no imagination. That was brilliant. That was the thing in this video that I was like, oh, I've got so much to grow.
And this is partly why I remember us doing this mini pod that Danae doesn't recall. Wasn't that lightsaber battle the one where you were like, that is my 5th favorite lightsaber battle? Was that the one where you said something like that? I
may have said it's in my top 5 lightsaber
battles. Or maybe that's
battles.
What you said.
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking, wow, like you have a list of favorite lightsaber battles.
Yeah, I do, man. Listen, if
You've
you grew
already
up with
thrown
Star
that baby in
Wars,
there.
fighting with lightsabers was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
There's nothing that compares to that idea.
Look, and
so
even
yeah.
and even when I say I'm not as big of a Star Wars fan as a lot of people that listen to us and stuff are, but like, I mean, Return of the Jedi is one of my first like theatrical experiences that I remember. Like, you know, I kept making my mom take me back to see it, or trying to get her to take me back and see it. And as a kid, that stuff's just awesome. I wanted to own a speed bike.
Yeah, those were cool
I thought
too.
they were real. And because my family rode dirt bikes, so I'm like, I went to my grandfather. I'm like, can we just go get a speed bike instead of a dirt bike? And
It's awesome.
I mean, those exist, right?
I also liked the Atmo is Obno joke. I thought that was great.
Can I tell you something about that? I actually have a story about that.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so Jeremy and I wrote a script for another movie before this, that a CinemaSins script, not a screenplay, a CinemaSins script for a video that we had to get done early so it could get on the channel. So that this one won't be coming out till like later in May, maybe even June. But they say Atmo in the movie that we wrote, and so I actually wrote the original. I wrote that sin in a different movie, and then Jeremy texts me while he's working on Skywalker. It's like, dude, you're not going to believe this, but they say Atmo in this movie also. I'm going to go ahead and just do that sin here as well. I was like,
oh, that's fun.
Yeah, that's hilarious. It's just one of those things we've never noticed before, and then they did it in 2 movies within a week.
So you wrote on this video. I should have included your name in the credits.
Jeremy typed it out.
And then because I just watched A Hunt for Red October, that outtake of, hey, I think someone just shot a torpedo at us really hit home well, because I'd just seen that. So yeah, that's kind of the stuff I enjoyed. What about you guys?
I'm trying to remember what you guys haven't mentioned, but did we mention they're riding horse thingies on top of a space?
Oh my God, that was my favorite. Just the delivery. They're riding horse thingies on top of a spaceship,
which I didn't even notice. I mean, even like I still working with this channel, I still love when I watch these that I didn't work on, and I'm like, I never noticed that before.
Yeah.
Like that is insane. Like I just took that for granted. Comparing Carrie Fisher to the Sopranos mom, I thought was interesting. Reggie Jackson was a very funny sin. And then, I think that. Oh, and then they said, "Really wish C-3PO would die." I thought that was quite funny.
I really enjoyed them pointing out like how often he was asking about how he knows so much about flying and repairing, and that's like what he does with Poe.
Right.
It was like another one of those where I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really good point too. But as far as other things like that weren't just ripping apart the movie that I thought I liked a whole bunch, I really enjoyed the I just do what the cocaine tells me. That was one of my favorite moments. Just sort of like this feverish writing. The Rage Ocean taking a break at the appropriate time. I really enjoyed that one. Everything about pointing out how ghosts shouldn't be able to handle objects and then coming to fight. That was another really good point that I enjoyed. But the biggest one that's sort of like I'm gonna have to think about a lot, and some of them I thought as I watched it, but now the whole killing the Emperor with his own lightning, that was like a little aha moment for me, because I think I realized that's what they were trying to do, and I still haven't been able to figure that out in my own mind as to how the Emperor was killed and then Rey didn't turn evil. I thought she just sort of like used all the Force power to stay good. So yeah, this was an epic one for me on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have watched it. They did a great job. Incredible job, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think we mentioned this one either, because this was my favorite dig on the whole like Abrams thing. Was this is like Spock yelling Khan instead of Kirk,
right?
Which was not really subtle, but it was very. I mean, it is subtle if you don't know much about Star Trek or watch the Abrams Star Trek movies, but it was that had me dying. Like I just.
Well, it is an Abrams thing. You know, he loves to play the notes in pretty much the same way and just, alter them just a little bit. Yeah,
it's interesting. Like I do love that guy, man. I mean, he's created some of my favorite television, and he's done some really good movies, but there are things about him. And I like some of this. I like a lot of the stuff in his Star Trek movies, but
here's the thing. If this had been an Abrams trilogy, I think we're talking about a fantastic trilogy. Like, here's
possibly, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he felt he was locked into a corner trying to get back to where he wanted to go after Rian Johnson took it a different direction, right? And so, yeah, I just think if he oversees the whole thing, we're having a totally different conversation.
Well, and also, like, and I'm going to talk about my Beyond the Sins pick actually gets into, like, the idea of, like, you know, what social media we had at a certain point in our life and what we have now. I mean, we know so much about well, we think we know. We probably don't know half of anything that's really going on here, but we have an idea that we have some ideas of what was going on behind the scenes, and which we wouldn't have known, like, in the, you know, early 80s. There's no telling what Lucas and Spielberg were fighting about, and not Spielberg, or Lucas and whoever. I can't even think of who he worked with on those films. But my mind just completely went blank. But I can't imagine what was going on behind the scenes of the original films. Yeah. But with us having so much knowledge of what's going on behind the scenes now, I think that also feeds into the narrative.
Sure.
Of the films themselves, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So
great job. Let's move on to another great movie, Catwoman. This was an Atkinson Dicer script. So Chris and I wrote on this.
Do you think Barrett, like, because you got called into this later, right?
Yes.
I guess we should say. So I think Barrett pulled a hammy. Like, I think he faked a hammy pull for this because
so he wouldn't have to write on it.
I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm very much kidding. But yeah, this movie's horrendous.
Yeah, it's bad. Danae, are people going to take a drink? Have you seen Catwoman?
I hope you have.
Drink.
I'm sad I have.
It's actually one where I think I remember being interested in it because I liked Catwoman. Mm-hmm. And I like Halle Berry. Yeah. And so I thought it would be a good match. But then my memories are more like emotional feelings. So if my feeling is, I think I was told don't do it. Enough people went to it and they're just like, don't. It'll ruin it for you.
Not all heroes wear capes. Those people are the heroes of your life in that moment.
Yeah.
I saw
and Chris wrote down his
theater.
thoughts on this too, so I can read that whenever you're ready.
Yeah, why don't you start with Chris's thoughts?
I just wanted to say, I saw this in the theater. Obviously, never watched it again, but watching the video, I remembered everything that happened in this movie.
It's that bad.
It's so bad, like it just scars you for the rest of your life.
No.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, what did Chris have to say?
Chris said he didn't see Catwoman when it came out because he heard it was terrible, so he never saw it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the time came to sin it, and he couldn't believe how bad it was. The movie is basically half romantic comedy, like no one would come to watch it unless Halle Berry fell in love with somebody, and the editing is atrocious. During the action scenes, even if you're trying to cover up for the fact that the real actors can't fight, you don't have to cut that much. But even when the movie isn't doing an action scene, people are in mid-sentence and the movie cuts to a close-up and then back to the original shot. Even if you're able to get past those things, the plot is stupid as hell. Cosmetics that make people look young but have terrible side effects, and Sharon Stone will kill anyone who finds out. She supposedly has skin that's as tough as diamonds, but it doesn't even really factor into anything. The plot to frame Catwoman for her murders only comes after she's killed one person. Like, the movie knew that Catwoman would be in the wrong place at the wrong time, but Sharon Stone certainly didn't. I especially liked how Aaron discovered that they had apparently cut 2 days out of the same day. Everybody is wearing the same clothes, and they just obviously reordered some scenes to make something quote unquote work that didn't before. It's just super bad.
Was that the thing about Benjamin Bratt, like coming back to saying he went back to the office?
It totally destroys the continuity of the first half hour of this movie. Maybe even first 45 minutes.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was. It was the other thing in my keeping tabs. So I should hold on to something in my keeping tabs.
Okay,
so I'll hold on to I'll hold on to that one for keeping tabs.
This, like, DC does not know what the fuck they're doing with their properties. I'm sorry. Like, they occasionally get a Batman film right, and they occasionally got a first couple of Superman movies right, I guess. But, like, holy shit. Like, and it's not that different now. I mean, but, like, then, I mean, this felt like one of those 90s DC movies that wasn't called Batman. Because remember, they did, like, that Shaquille O'Neal version of Steel. And there's some stuff like that, and that's what this kind of felt like it was just a leftover from all that garbage. And, like, I think did you say that? Did Chris make a comment about it coming out a couple years before Dark Knight, or was that in?
Yeah, it was like the next year
Batman
Dark
Begins
Knight came out. Yeah,
it was a year before Batman Begins, right?
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Yeah. I
bad.
I was watching this time and just checking things off my CW bingo card because it really is an Arrowverse pilot. Like, this is like, it's got the skin that those pilots like to show. It's got the the uber hustle, young person who's just trying to make their life work and all of a sudden has superpowers, and it really feels like a television show in that way. So I really think you could just slide Catwoman based on this movie into the DC Arrowverse and everybody be just fine.
Yeah, maybe they will.
What did you guys think about the video?
It was really, really funny. I cannot believe, I'm assuming Chris wrote the 90s softcore porn sin.
Yeah. Not to
I
say
cannot
I don't
believe
have
we
an
had
experience
Gabriella
with that,
Hall. Huh?
Not to say I don't have my own stories about those moments in my life.
I can't believe we mentioned Gabriella Hall
right
in a Sins video, and I can't believe I knew who Gabriella Hall was immediately. I was like, oh yeah, I remember her.
Yep, no,
very
we
well.
all do. We all do.
Not everybody.
Yeah, Danae was watching real porn. We were just watching the softcore stuff. But yeah, no, that was great. Disguttle rousing.
Yeah,
was very funny. And I mean, Danae mentioned this with what Chris was saying and what Aaron was saying, but I love the run-of-the-mill romantic comedies from the 90s and 2004 because it really did feel like that. Like, it felt like a really bad romantic comedy from like 1997.
That's exactly what it is. It's just a bad romantic comedy. That's what this movie is. It's crazy.
Oh, and the bonus round that was awesome.
Holly Sterry.
Oh my God, so funny.
Yeah, I just noticed that like the movie was very intent on showing her staring into the distance or looking dramatically at the camera. And, yeah, because it's so cat-like, that's what cats do. And so they were very, very intent on that.
And that outtake package was top notch.
It was a lot of fun. What about you, Danae?
I like the show, then tell, then show, and then tell again, just in case.
Yeah.
The sin about the director being a male, and you can tell that he's a male because it's just a shot of her butt walking across.
Mm-hmm.
I am starting to notice that stuff more. You guys have mentioned it many times in our conversations, like, with Wonder Woman being shot so differently and how you can tell that it's shot differently.
Well, because you've got more females directing superhero movies now, so that kind of helps.
Right, but I don't think I've ever noticed it as much. Probably one, I don't go to see a lot of movies and things like that anyway. Two, it's probably just sort of ingrained in me and I don't even realize it, that how a woman is shot or what we're supposed to care about. Like, we're supposed to care about how tight our asses are and whether they fit into leather pants wonderfully or not.
You do care about that, right?
Everybody knows about.
Important.
It is. It's very, very important, when you're thinking about your education, when you're thinking about your future, when you're thinking about the list of things that you need to be doing well in life. One of them is how quickly you can get into a pair of leather pants and how wonderful they look. That's important.
You're always thinking about that ass. That's right. That's very important.
So, but anyways, I like that sin because I was watching going, oh my God, wow, that really is a long shot of just a woman's ass. Like, what's the point other than seeing her butt? So to me, and a little insight into not realizing that stuff is done. To
be fair, it's a beautiful shot.
Yes, and I like how everything is written like kind of like that. Like, I like this, but also no. The 100,000 sins for the terrible fight scene I really liked.
Yeah.
There was one sin about like she saves the kid from the Ferris wheel and then she's walking away and the mom doesn't say thank you, and the sin is like basically sinning that the mom didn't say thanks one more time at least, and then the line is your entire lineage was saved. And then the pointing out that the villain, having never seen this, not realizing, and it's what Chris said in his notes, just that the villain is an evil woman who is making bad face cream. And I was like, wow.
And disappears for like most of the movie. She's gone.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, just remember, like in the comics, Catwoman is like one of the most badass, amazing, like criminals ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's like the person you hire to break into a safe. Like, I mean, she's a cat burglar. I mean, and this is what she becomes in the movie. I just really want to be a fly on this would be like the Gremlins 2 pitch meeting sketch from Key and Peele. Like, I want to be at the Catwoman writer's room to hear people coming up with this crap, because it's unbelievable. Going off the asking too, one I forgot to mention was when she's escaping the jail cell, and it was like, or maybe Halle Berry's breasts do turn everything to jelly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much in this. There's also that moment where she teleports, and it's just one moment in the movie where they make it very clear that there's no possible way she could have gotten from there to there, except that she teleported. And it's like, where have you introduced that that's one of her powers? Like, it's just such a bad movie. It's just
By
bad
the way,
overall.
though, Halle Berry, just recently seeing her in John Wick Chapter 3 and then seeing her in this, which was, 15 years before, she hasn't aged. So
she doesn't.
Some people, man.
My favorite part of that, the sin that you mentioned about, obviously this was shot by a man, is the addition of, and that man was probably from France.
I thought that was funny too, because she might even still be with that guy that's French. She's like been with Oliver. I can't think of his name now, but yeah.
Yeah, it is in many ways, like, if you think of the idea, at least, of so bad it's good, there is something about watching a movie this bad where you're just so in awe of how bad it is that, there's kind of a giddiness to that. At least that's how I felt while sitting.
I bet it was fun. It was fun to write on, I assume, right? I mean, because I feel like this was like the feeling I got while writing on when you wrote on the Snowman too.
Yeah.
But like that was one where it's horrible. It's hard to watch, but at the same time, it's just like you're just writing sins like crazy. Like they're just your brain's firing on all cylinders. It's kind of cathartic.
Yeah, the male gaze is real, and it's one of those things that's just kind of ingrained in film in a way that we are just now starting to kind of to figure out what happens when we let all sorts of people direct movies instead of just people kind of from the same background. And so I've had the same experience, Danae, over the last 10 years.
I think it's fascinating, though, because Chris and I have discussed this in some movies we've reviewed in our mini-pods. Like, I remember the Black Christmas remake. That was a slasher film directed by a female, which is very uncommon. Mm-hmm. And then, like, Birds of Prey was directed by... Like, Birds of Prey, for instance, like, I'm curious, like, if a man directed that... Like, and this has nothing to do with the male gaze, but, like, if a man directs Birds of Prey, is there a whole storyline about Harley Quinn wanting an egg sandwich?
Yeah, right.
Because I don't think there is.
You never know. And that's what's important. And that's not to say a woman can't use the camera to lustfully look at a woman,
absolutely.
or say, you know what I'm saying, or that a man can't figure out how to shoot women as human beings instead of objects. Like, that's possible, and people do it. It's just one of those things that does happen a lot. In fact, Danae and I just send a movie that I won't give away, but it may be too much of a hint even to talk about this. But we just send a movie together that I think really benefits from having a female director, because it is a movie that could very easily be male gazy, and it shoots some very usually male gazy things in a very female gaze way, and I really respect that. So yeah, it's
and to go back, and I wanted to go back on my Birds of Prey comment. When I said that with love. I really enjoyed that movie, by the way. I wasn't saying that as a negative. That's just stuff like that is what's popping up in my head when I'm watching some of these movies, with the knowledge that they're directed by a man or woman.
Yes, but Catwoman could have been called Male Gaze the movie. I think that is what we really need to land on here.
CGI.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a nightmare. Definitely not on my watch list.
No, I was bummed.
And Halle Berry is a beautiful woman, and Sharon Stone is a very beautiful woman, but I would not call that movie very sexy.
Or that sin where it's like putting on your face cream that you have to like put your leg out like this to put your face cream on.
Thank you.
You don't do that? You were putting on your face cream before the show when you were doing that.
You have to be wearing a high heel and have a bare leg and extend it out from your body so that it shows the shape.
Possible.
It's like whenever,
and if you can
whenever
arch
we
your back
start,
a little bit too.
Whenever whenever Danae joins the video session before we record, it's always just her leg.
Yeah,
that's right.
Very much.
That's how I enter the room, one leg at a time.
Danae Hughes has entered the room. All right, let us move on to keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Ha ha! Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're each going to tell a story from putting together the content for the week, maybe a Google search, some strange research, deleted sin, whatever we want to talk about. I've already kind of said what mine is, so I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about it. But it was that moment in Catwoman when I realized that everybody was wearing the same outfit as the day before.
Right.
And
what a great observation.
Well, I guess maybe. But the thing is, she was wearing the same outfit, and so that is obvious. Your main character is wearing the same outfit 2 days in a row. Now, listen, I wear outfits a month in a row.
I was going to say, you haven't been living with my daughter and wife through the COVID-19 self-isolation.
Before self-isolation, I wore the same outfit a month in a row. Like, this is like, I am very bohemian about that kind of stuff. But in movies, it's not usually like that. So my antenna went up right away, and then I started noticing, okay, her best friend is wearing the same outfit. Okay, the guy who said man sandwich is wearing the exact same. Like, everybody is dressed exactly the same. So I did, a little bit of research. There wasn't a lot on it. Other than other people have noticed it. And so the assumption is, I don't think anybody's ever been public about this, but the assumption is, which makes a lot of sense, is they shot all of that stuff was supposed to take place in one day. Those first 2 days were also supposed to be a really jam-packed day where she starts off trying to save the cat. He comes and helps her with that. She runs to work. Then all the stuff with the meeting, all that kind of stuff happens that same day. And he comes and visits her at lunchtime, which, by the way, gives him enough time to have been to his office, then come to see her, and, those kind of things. And by the way, going to the planet night was that same day. It's supposed to be that same day as well. So, like, this entire movie basically was supposed to take place during this one day, at least the entire, like, origin story part of the movie. And they just decided, for whatever reason, probably smartly in the end, that's a lot of stuff to feel was packed into the same day. And so then they just tried to fix it without reshooting. And it doesn't work. It changes so much about why people are saying things when they're saying them. There's just all these little moments where you go, I can see it there too, So, that was a really interesting experience for me to kind of put that together and then watch the movie knowing that, understanding the things that it had changed. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. What about you, Jonathan?
I only worked on Archer, and I didn't look up anything for that. So I don't have anything. No, I'm out.
Danae?
I looked up whether pencils float, as I kind of already talked about, which brought me to this guy named Nick Zimetti's YouTube channel, because there was this YouTube video that was titled "Floating Pencil River," and so I was like, okay, that's what I'm looking for. But then but it's about him making a table, and what he does is he takes like material and he puts it in like an epoxy resin type thing, like he puts it all in resin, and then he sands everything down, and he makes these really interesting things inside of resin. And so I ended up watching several of his videos of him making these really interesting creations of various materials inside of resin that he then, puts onto like a wood turning table and makes into something really fascinating looking. There was like a dragon's fire, eyeball of Sauron looking thing that was really cool. A lot of it was just like, I think there was one about like wine corks and random materials that are really interesting. There was one about molding daisies. So anyways, if you like woodworking, this is a really cool, I don't know, I just find this stuff, I love creative people and watching them do something that they're passionate about. So this one was, for me, particularly fun to watch. He has like 673,000 subscribers as of today, which is a fair amount. And again, his name is Nick Zimetti. That's Zammeti. And so, or you can just search for "Do Pencils Float" and look for the one about a table, and you'll find it.
That's a very.
Do you remember having to look up stuff in encyclopedias? Remember that? That was fun.
Yeah,
I do. And sometimes, like, I just think about that, like, because Danae always finds this interesting stuff on YouTube, and I'm just like, God, like, what did we do? Like, how did we ever write a report? My daughter's going to have it so easy.
The library, man. We had to go to the library.
You spent time in the library. I don't know how my kids would survive if they had to go to a building to research stuff.
I know, and I'm not right now because of self-isolation, but I actually enjoy going to the library. Although our library is not in the best part of town. But
I walked to the library uphill both ways in the snow, kids.
That's right.
Oh God, encyclopedias were the worst though. There was like actually a Modern Family episode that's really funny where they make them get off technology for a day. Do you remember that one, Aaron?
No, I don't watch oh yeah, Modern Family. I thought you said Family Guy.
No, Modern Family, where the Phil and Claire, they make their kids not use technology for a day, and like one of them writes a report on something, and she's like, "These encyclopedias aren't even up to date. Like they hadn't even invented photosynthesis yet." It's like she got like an F on her report.
Right. Yeah, YouTube is the perfect place for channels to pop up that are just simple. Does it float? And, like there are entire YouTube channels that are dedicated to dropping things in water and seeing if they float.
I've learned how to like cook things and, build things that like I never would have been able to do 20 years ago.
Yeah. It's been pretty amazing. Yeah, no, that's good stuff. I actually, one of my good friends in the pop culture world that comes on the podcast sometimes on Sif Pop got his start with a YouTube channel that's just throwing stuff in microwaves and seeing what happened. That was like his whole
that
YouTube
sounds
career.
dangerous.
Yeah, well,
it does,
you should
and that's
hear some
why
of the
we
stories.
watch somebody else do it.
I've blown up some shit not meaning to, so I that's scary, man. I've had glass plates just explode.
Yep. All right, I think we're ready to move on to the comment section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
Going to take a look at some of the comments in the videos from the week and talk about what some people had to say. Snake, kick us off. What did you find?
From SpongeBob, Scully Animatics. Animatics, yeah. Scully Animatics said, "Fun fact, the artist on the boat in this episode is the voice actor for Plankton."
Yep.
I didn't know that. And that's why I love the comment section.
Nice.
It's a short and sweet one this week.
What about you, Jonathan?
I wrote a sin on the Archer that was in the video about where we called I Want to Know What Love Is, the narrator's 16th favorite foreigner song. And we actually had somebody comment on that. How the hell is I Want to Know What Love Is only your 16th favorite foreigner song? That song is a goddamn work of art. And the answer is because 16th is funnier than saying
That's
second.
right. That's exactly right.
That's what makes it funny.
Because it's a joke.
Because the idea that somebody would have a top 16 foreigner song list
is the joke. Yes.
Also, I don't know. You do yours. I have another one, Aaron, but I don't know.
No, go ahead.
Oh, well, there's another one from Archer that I just thought this was funny. And when Archer gets the time bomb right, CinemaSins misspells accurate. Take the L, CinemaSins. I love getting called out for shit like that. And the fact that we have 3 people watching that video like multiple times.
Yeah, more than that usually. Like there's usually at least 4 or 5 eyeballs.
I know.
8 or 10 eyeballs on those things.
Yeah, just never caught it.
No, and it's wild when like that word was missing a vowel. Like it was so poorly spelled. Like it was just I think it's also testament to the fact that Adobe Premiere needs to have like the spell check squigglies on their stuff.
Yes.
Where's that?
Let's blame technology.
That's Adobe's fault.
Yeah, because Framio does, but if it's already in there,
right?
we're not gonna catch it. So
that's funny. We're like, what did we do before the internet? Oh, we had to look things up for ourselves and know how to spell.
That's right. That's right.
Are there words, by the way, that you never spell right the first time? Because for me, it's convenience. I never spell convenience right.
Necessary. The word necessary.
Those are both great examples.
I add a whole bunch of C's and S's and hope that I get it right.
I get the I and E swapped in there every time. That's a stupid one.
Really?
Yeah, I always put the wrong. I don't know which comes first. In weird has been that way throughout my life. I think I finally got weird down. But anytime there's an I and an E, my brain just doesn't know what to do with them.
Look, I'm a grammar Nazi. I love English, and I've always been really good with grammar and whatnot. And the I before E rule makes no fucking sense. The English language is so weird.
Yeah.
Once
it's
again,
so
daughter and laughter are pronounced differently.
IERD.
Yes.
That's the one I always want to go to, the daughter laughter thing. Like, why are those pronounced differently?
Yeah,
we don't know.
Funny story.
It makes no sense.
Quick funny story before I get into my my comment section. The spelling of the word weird is one that from my childhood haunts me because I wrote a note to my dad that was something about, I don't even remember the situation other than I was trying to convince him that I should have an extra cookie, but it was like signed by somebody else who would have authority. But I spelled weird wrong for some reason. The word weird was in there, and he was like, I knew it was you because you spelled the word weird wrong.
Oh, no.
Oh man. Oh well. I was like, maybe I did that on purpose, Dad. Maybe I was trying to throw you off. No. I just don't know how to spell that word. All right, yeah, so we were wrong about spelling the word accurate. We were also wrong about that map. I should say. And so welcome to the segment of I was wrong, but it kind of doesn't matter. Which is Failure Ninja says, as far as what was going on with North America on this map, clearly the landmass you identified as Florida is in fact New Jersey. It's even labeled Jersey. The reason Michigan looks so weird is because the Great Lakes aren't shown because it's a very old map. And then in the same comment, he puts a timestamp for geography snobs and then says, okay, that's fair. Which I love awesome. Because it's him being a geography snob and then admitting, I really loved that comment for several reasons. And I will talk about that map a little bit. He's not wrong. That actually is, I think, supposed to be a zoomed in version of the East Coast near New York and New Jersey that for whatever reason looks like Maine and then a weird shape of Florida. And so I thought it was just a weird shape of the entirety of the U.S. But if you look at it, I think it's supposed to be like a really zoomed in version of the East Coast. And so, but I will say it is very confusing to try to figure out what that map is showing you, because that thing that looks like Maine shouldn't be there if it's a zoomed in version of the East Coast. So I don't know. It's just kind of one of those strange things. So, but I did appreciate it, and I am certainly not above saying that I saw it wrong. So in that case,
I just like that the person who pointed out was called Failure Ninja.
That's right. Yes. Well
their whole purpose is to point out that you failed in
Stealthily.
a ninja-esque way.
I wonder if he's like me and he was a kid in the 80s that wanted to be a ninja and failed at it, because that happened. That happened to me. Speaking of Karate Kid.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
There were ninjas
Jonathan.
everywhere in the 80s, man. You just went in a restaurant, they were just hanging out. According to movies, they were everywhere.
But you would be saying
weird times.
You would be saying the exact same thing if you were a ninja too. So I don't know. Maybe
that's true.
Maybe you succeeded.
That's true.
If you guys think I'm a ninja, that's hilarious. I just want to throw that out there. That is funny. I told that story just like 3 weeks ago. I couldn't stand up with a blanket on me without falling over. But yes, I have mastered the arts of the ninja. Become a ninja.
I haven't mastered blankets, but yes, I've got martial arts down.
Or just standing in general.
How do blankets work?
And what did ninjas originate from? Is that just straight up karate? Is that something different? Like, how do you even become a ninja? Somebody needs to tell me. I know somebody out there listening knows how to become a ninja.
I'm sure
Joseph Davis probably knows.
Yeah.
Joseph, how do you become a ninja?
Send an email to help Jonathan become a ninja at cinemasins.com.
I actually just want to learn how to stand up without tripping over a blanket. That'd be my favorite thing.
Help Jonathan know how blankets work at cinemasins.com. All right, let's move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond!
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're each going to chat about something else from the world of pop culture that we've taken in recently. I guess I can start off. There's a lot of new TV that's very interesting to me that's coming out right now. There's the stuff from the Rick and Morty guy, Justin Roiland, who has, Solar Opposites, I think, coming out very soon, or maybe it just released even. And then Greg Daniels of Office fame created The Office as well as Parks and Recreation.
Danae's favorite show, Office.
By the way, the Parks and Rec special was great. I should have used that for my Beyond the Sins.
I did not even know that was, I knew it was happening, but I didn't realize it was already airing, so I missed it. I've got to go find it.
It's really good.
I'm sure it's on Hulu or something. I'll find it.
It's really well done. I was really impressed. Yeah. But I wanted to talk about his show that's out, not the one. He's got another one coming out called Space Force with Steve Carell that looks really funny.
Yes.
But he just released Upload on Amazon Prime.
Oh, cool.
And this is a 10-episode season 1 comedy. And it's basically about a world where they've invented how to save your consciousness. And so when you die, they upload you to heaven, to a certain kind of heaven. And I've watched 3 episodes so far, And I'm struck by a couple of things. Number one, Greg Daniels hasn't that I've seen him work in kind of the cable era or streaming era where content is, you can make the content whatever you want. And so this is very TVMA with sexuality and nudity and language. And I haven't seen him do a sitcom kind of with that stuff, which is interesting because it feels a little more worldly and authentic in some ways. And then secondly, the technology in this is so interesting to me. I love kind of the idea of how they're setting up what this would be like, how it would work. I think if we were to sin it, we would definitely find some ways that it doesn't quite hold together. But at the same time, I think they're big thoughts, and I love big thoughts and big concepts. And this show is full of big thoughts and concepts. So I'm really enjoying it. I think it's funny. I laugh a lot, and it's also not afraid to be a little bit more serious. I think there's this underlying theme of the tech companies upcharging people to have better heavens that starts to put in your mind the idea of inequality, income inequality and how that affects people, and the idea that, the poorest among us would just die. They wouldn't go to heaven because they couldn't afford it. So, I don't know. It's dealing with concepts that I find really powerful to think about, as well as comedy that I think is really funny, as well as technology that I think is fascinating. So it's got it checks all these boxes for me. But anyways, it's called Upload, and it's on Amazon Prime. So something you might want to check out.
Yeah, I saw Frank, our friend Frank Kemp on Twitter. He tweeted something the other day. It might have been Friday. It said something about this new Ready Player One show on Amazon's really good. I assume that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. It's not Ready Player One.
But I don't. It doesn't sound like it is. But I can't think of anything else he would be talking about. So I assume that's what he was too.
So okay, mine this week is going to be a web cartoon or webtoon or web comic. I don't know how else I could say it.
I think we all get it, Danae.
Do you read it or do you watch it?
I was recommended this through Twitter. Tim mentioned this to me, and it's on Webtoons, which is an app that I've mentioned before. I think I've talked about Lore Olympus a couple of times, which if you hadn't heard me mention that one, that's a really, really good one. The art on that one's fantastic, and I'm up to date on that one. But I'm not up to date on this one because I'm still catching up. This one's called Newman, and it is super, super fun. It's really, really well drawn, very, very clever. It's everything that you want it to be, and it has a D&D-esque type of adventure to it. The main character's name is surprisingly Newman, and he's this really interesting gnome that kind of works for maybe the police force called the Creature Removal Department, and he's just been at the beginning of this series is he's been assigned a new partner, and her name is Gwen, and so it's sort of their relationship back and forth. But what's interesting about it and refreshing, at least at this point in my catching up, because there's a lot of content, which is great, it's fun to be able to binge a comic right now, is that the story progresses in a really refreshing way. It's not like one of those long drawn out will they, won't they situations. Even in as far as their adventuring is concerned, you might wrap up an adventure in two comics back to back, and so there's this sort of fulfilling feeling that you have of checking, check mark, that adventure is done. Oh, what's next? Type of a thing. The artist who's drawing this, his name, I just lost it. I'll try to find it. Sorry, artist. I know you're listening to the show and you really love our show, so my bad. I don't know what it is. He does another one called Jackie Rose, and that one's another really popular one. In fact, I think Newman was sort of like a little side thing. Oh, Josh Ulrich is his name. Anyhow, I think Newman was even not really intended to be like a bigger hit or anything like that. I'm just sort of reading some of the comments and figuring things out as I go, but people really, really love it. And it definitely has that adventure style to it. There's some new characters that I've been introduced to recently. There's some new plot lines that are kind of fun. There's some question marks as they're trying to, adventure on these big adventures. But one of the funnest parts for me is that if you're into some of the adventure lore, Newman is a gnome and Gwen is a drow, and the drow culture is they're from the Underdark, and they have an interesting dynamic between the males and the females. That's all I'm going to say, because it's just fun to kind of run into it unexpectedly. But it's staying true to some lore from adventures and books and things like this that just is really fun. And like I said, super, super clever, really, really great art. And again, it's called Newman, and it's for free on Webtoons.
Sweet.
Very nice. What do you got, Jonathan?
I've been catching up on some stuff, cleaning off my DVR, and I finally watched the first 4 episodes of The Last Dance, this documentary series on ESPN. The new episode airs tonight. And I will say, first off, if you're not really into sports, I would not necessarily tune me out. My wife doesn't watch a lot of sports, and she loves this so much that she has been bugging me every day, asking me what night it comes on, because she never remembers when stuff comes on.
It's always Sunday.
Every day this week. Is this the night that The Last Dance comes on?
Every show is on Sunday. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, every one of them.
Every show.
Pretty much. And they're showing 2 episodes. It's going to be 10 episodes, I believe. Mm-hmm. The first 4 have aired, and it is awesome. The 1990, so going into the 97 and 98 season for the Chicago Bulls, they were coming off two championships in a row, and it was their 5th championship in 7 years. And so the 97-98 season, they were trying to win their 6th championship as a franchise, and it would have been their second, I guess, three-peat. And they allowed this documentary crew in to film. They gave this camera crew a lot of access. Because there was a lot of stuff going on in the organization. The players like Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, they were getting a little older. They weren't sure how many more years they had for them. And also Phil Jackson, the coach, had been there a while, and they had a general manager that was thinking maybe it was time to do a rebuild. So Jordan and his teammates kind of aptly named the season The Last Dance, basically, because they were thinking this might be the last season. They really had a chance to do anything before the rebuild started. And so that's kind of what the focus of this documentary is. However, they're also going back, and they're showing like where the franchise was before Jordan got there in 1984, the things that happened between 1984 and their historic run starting in 1991. This is the 1991 Chicago Bulls is what got me into basketball. Which is interesting. I don't know. I know, Aaron, you're a big basketball person too, but you played, right?
Yeah, I played. I've had a scholarship to play in college, in fact. Yeah, I played a lot. And this series is great. I'm loving it so much.
Oh, have you been watching it too?
Oh, yeah. In fact, Danae's husband is a huge Bulls fan from back in the day during this time. Nice. And so when I've chatted with Justin, I've been like, you have to watch. Like, you're going to love this show. I'm curious if he's talked about it at all, Danae. Like, do you know, is he watching this or?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. He would love it. It is so well done. Would. It's so it's really well produced, for one. They just really know what they're doing telling this story.
Well, and one thing, and the one thing I was mentioning earlier about having access to social media is that, like I said, this is when I really got into basketball. I watched a ton of NBA in this time period. I knew nothing about all this stuff going on behind the scenes. Nothing. Now, mind you, I guess if you watch like ESPN, if you watch SportsCenter and stuff like that, you probably did hear some of these things, but like you definitely didn't have the access to this stuff like you do now. And like, it's really interesting. And I also like the way the documentary, it's not like, at first I thought it was going to be like, oh, they're going to make the general manager a bad guy. But they absolutely don't. In fact, right from the beginning, they show how Michael Jordan was kind of mean to him. Like, you know, would make comments.
Well, Scottie Pippen especially. Scottie Pippen.
God, Scottie Pippen. I've learned a lot of things I didn't want to know about Scottie Pippen in the last 10 years. Like, he makes Dennis Rodman like look like a saint in some ways. But no, yeah. So it's been a really fascinating time because it's like I'm remembering. It's very nostalgic for me. But then at the same time, I'm learning all these things I didn't even know that were going on. Like, you kind of just assume as a kid, especially, like, oh, they're winning, so they're just going to keep winning until they're not winning anymore. But there is a lot of decisions that have to be made behind the scenes. Like, you know, contracts have to be restructured and or renewed. And, you know, how much longer does this person actually have in his tank to play with us? And at some point, do we just need to go younger and, you know, start over again? And, you know, 20 years later, or wait, how long? It's been, yeah, that's right, like 22 years later, the Bulls haven't done anything.
Yeah.
They've had a couple of decent years. They had the Derrick Rose years where they had a few, but they had to go up against LeBron. And so they never were really, they had the same issues that like a lot of these teams that went up against them in this time period had, just going up against juggernauts that they couldn't get past. So I don't know. It's really fascinating. And I think even if you're not really into sports, I think it's still fascinating because it really gets into how the NBA and how all these professional sports leagues are a business when all is said and done. And it's just, I don't know. I like you said, it's so well produced. It's so well done. It goes back and forth with the footage, like the footage they were shooting that year versus current interviews versus stuff that happened before. It's really running the gambit, I think, really, really well. So I've really enjoyed it. It's a high recommend.
As a
so
Detroit
far.
Pistons fan, the third and fourth episodes are a ton of fun. Although they're from the perspective of the enemy, so you got to know that going in if you're a Detroit fan.
Yeah, that's interesting. I thought about that because. So I remember that really well, too, because I had one of my best friends growing up was from Detroit and was a huge Pistons fan. So I remember those, like the 3 or 4 years leading up to when the Bulls started dominating, they always ran into the Pistons and the Pistons always won. It was like Red Sox Yankees.
Yeah. In some ways.
And then finally, 91, the Bulls won. They won the series against the Pistons. And then, the rest was pretty much history at that point. But the Pistons were fun to watch back then, too, man. The bad boys.
The only other time it comes into play is the Dream Team when Jordan keeps Isaiah off the Dream Team because he doesn't get along with him, and I think that's coming up in one of the episodes coming up soon. I love this stuff. It's so nostalgic.
Yeah.
If you are, by the way, I'll just throw this out. If you are a Pistons fan, ESPN did a great 30 for 30 on the Bad Boys that will fill that slot nicely for you.
30 for 30 is just a great series, just in general. Like my wife and I watch those almost every time. There's one on the XFL that's really good. ESPN does a lot of good documentary stuff. I believe they did the OJ in America documentary as well.
Made in America,
which was really good. So
high
recommend.
Yeah, high recommend from me as well, especially for your hubby, Danae. You got to make sure he's watching that.
I'm sorry, I'm shopping online right now. I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
It would be funny if that weren't true. It's funny because it is true.
Did you find any good deals?
What's that?
I was asking her if she found any good deals.
No, I'm right now. There's $600 off of this Lady Alcott Victorian balloon chair, which is beautiful.
I think you need that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think now that we've talked about it in the episode, you have to buy it. I think that's.
And then just after, when your husband's like, "Why did you buy this?" Be like, "Hey, sweetie, there's this documentary series that Aaron and Jonathan recommended that I think you'd really like." Oh, that's right.
That's my connection. It looks kind of like half of a basketball in a way.
So you see, honey, I had to. There's no getting around it at that point. I think it's even tax deductible because I was working.
No, it's funny because in Discord recently there was a chat a couple weeks ago, I think, about like tea kettles. And then just for fun, I was looking up super expensive tea kettles because that's a thing, you know? And so I now get ads for these websites that are these highly collectible, really, really, really expensive online stores for like Victorian things and like stuff from auction. It's like handmade and hand painted and like it's ridiculous over the top stuff. And I can't stop looking at it. Right now I can get 15% off of garden animals if I want. It's a dream for somebody who likes to look at random stuff online.
Nice.
I'm having a good time.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for Behind the Scenes this week. Don't forget to make sure you are subscribed. Go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well wherever you listen. You can hang out with us on Twitter. The main Twitter is at CinemaSins BTS. Mine is at Aaron Dicer. Hers is at Danae Says.
DENEESAYS.
And his is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll see you next week and go Pistons.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to behindthesinnspod@gmail.com. And be sure to subscribe or message us at Twitter. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Okay. Whoa, that is so loud. Holy shit. Something got bumped. Let's see what happens when I move this funk. That's not the right thing. Okay, check. Holy shit. Oh my God. Level check. Oh my God, why am I so blasted? What the actual heck? No, this is bad. This is so bad. Oh no, I don't know what to do. Don't you cry for me, Argentina. The truth is that I never left you all through. Oh my God, it's terrible. What is happening? Oh no, this is all going to be in the outtakes. I don't know what happened, but when I plugged my computer in this time, like my audio was just blasted out on my recording on this end. So I've been trying to figure that out.
You sound fine.
You sound fine.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Oh my God, that was so loud. I'm kidding. No, you're fine.
Because it was bad. Like, it was really bad.
I mean, you sound really, like, slow. Like, you have this, like, really...
Stop it. No!
Could you connect to... Hear me out on this. Could you connect to the Discord on your phone?
You say phone for what? From
God, you have been watching Killing Eve.
No, this is just who I am. And then afterwards, I immediately go, and you know what? I just don't want to know.
Well, that's the thing with Danae is the second you start trying to explain something, she's like, nope.
There's
Try something different.
Thing that we did, like, post-show where we would take the audio and we would run it through this, like, filter or whatever to make it better sounding or something.
Yeah.
It was, like, one of the final steps that we would do before we would upload our show to radio. I don't remember how... I mean, it was probably, 2 years? I would always be like, don't teach me. I don't want to know. It makes me angry for whatever reason. I get this thing that comes up inside of me, and it's just like this, like an angry learner kind of a feel.
Yeah.
I just get really frustrated, and I think it's because I like instantly understanding things and being perfect at it, and so the whole teaching and then being sucky at it is a very volatile state for me, I guess. Anyway, I'm getting better at it as the years go on, but still, with Aaron, he'd be like, it's really easy to do. All you have to do is, and I'm like, shut up, don't talk, don't tell me, I can't handle it. And then one day, I guess I was finally ready, and I was like, okay, I'm ready, but I'm going to tell you what I'm ready to do. Okay, do I click here? He'd say yes or no. I'd be like, okay, I'm ready for the next step. And then we just went step by step.
Yeah.
Took like 30 minutes or something. We finally get to the end of this teaching process, and I just remember being like, is that it? Oh, that's easy. But for 2 years, I just like made it this big, horrible deal.
My daughter's actually, even though she hasn't been taught how to type correctly, she's kind of automatically like her fingers are going in that direction, which is because I've been doing a lot of schoolwork with her. So it's been really fun to watch. Now she's like Aaron, man. She wants to know how everything works.
It's because we're
That's
scientists. Cool. We're curious scientists, and everything is fascinating.
But,
I love how you actually read books. It's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good angle, Aaron.
Oh yeah, that's right.
If you could set it up like the Catwoman moment where it's just her butt walking.
I'm just glad he has pants on, because after I said that, I just realized there's no telling what Aaron's doing under that desk. So
remember that one time that he was just going like this the whole time?
That wasn't on this. Was
He's like,
it?
no, keep talking about Pixar, Danae. Keep. So what does the boost mean? Like, is that?
It's just their.
It's not like an acronym or anything?
No.
It's not like B, ornery, Old Testament? I don't know.
Better off online,
that was a good effort, Jonathan. Wait,
what did you say?
You're going really slow
Old
through it, and then you completely skipped the S. But that's fine. That's fine. Just,
I was just trying to think of something, biblical.
I was watching your brain work, just trying to calculate it.
I don't know, but this is really making me so excited to do this show. So let's get started, because my frustration level is certainly going up instead of going down.
It's peaking.
Here's the thing. I will just be quiet this entire episode.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I love that idea.
I'll randomly cut in with like a and it'll be great.
Just be a laugh track.
Maybe it's fine. Okay, I'm gonna go.
But this seems to be going well, right?
Yeah, super great. Excellent.
Is it okay? All right. That is Danae speak for let's not talk about it anymore. Let's just record. Remember earlier when you were thankful I was wearing pants?
You mean like 12 minutes ago?
Yeah. You remember that? You guys remember that?
Are you not really wearing pants?
No, I am.
Oh, Okay.
I'm wearing my favorite pajamas, which are very silky, but they always had this. They're I call them gapper PJs, which basically means the fly gaps too much for me to wear them publicly as pajamas, if we all understand. So my wife sewed my fly shut on these so that I could wear them around the house and not be self-conscious.
She sewed your crotch shut?
Yeah, she sewed the fly part shut.
They don't have a button on them?
Yeah, but there's one button, and it just doesn't work.
No, maybe
without going into too much detail. It just doesn't keep things in.
Maybe I'm average enough to where the button works fine for me.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with my parts coming out whenever I wear pants like that.
If I button it up, it usually stays in.
I like it so much, I had her do it for all my pajama bottoms. So,
nice.
So all my pajamas are sewed shut. So now I have to go.
Well, pajamas, I mean, as far as going to the bathroom, like pajamas are easy to pull down.
Right.
So
that's what I was going to say.
It's not like you're not having it's not complex. You don't need that fly.
Oh, boo-hoo, you have to move clothing to piss. Oh, boo-hoo.
Are you drinking day old tea, or do you just keep Chick-fil-A cups around? Because I know Chick-fil-A is not open on Sunday. I worked at Chick-fil-A off and on for like 8 years. They are not open on Sunday.
In fact, I'm pretty sure you could get arrested for drinking out of a Chick-fil-A cup on a Sunday. I think they'll come after you.
Come at me, cops. I'm ready for you. Yeah, I have a lot of my mother's mannerisms, but I also have many of my dad's as well, which is super fun to feel their little shoulder angel presences for me, you know? It's kind of a cool thing. Because I love my parents. Now, there's parts of my parents' personalities that show out from time to time, and then my husband and I have to have conversations about how I'm working on it. Like, I'm working on it, honey, I promise. Yeah, I don't know what Iris is going to turn into. It's going to be interesting. Right now, she is probably going to be a WWE wrestler, if I'm going to guess. Because she is full-on wrestling Justin almost daily at this point. They just have these big old wrestle fests. So yeah, you guys both just cut out, but then I kind of caught up to what you were saying. So this is still fucked. That's great. Let's get going. I'm very frustrated with it, but okay.
I'm just so used to Danae doing accents, and today in these days we have to call her Danae Cultural Appropriation Hughes. She just appropriates all the cultures.
Yeah, I wish that I could do voices and accents and stuff without fear, but now I'm like, I'm not trying to be an asshole.
Well, I just think it's interesting because I think the idea is not to make fun or to use someone else's culture for your own benefit kind of idea. Like, I think that's the idea of why cultural appropriation is offensive and difficult. But like when you do a Russian accent, you're not punching down or anything. You know what I mean? Like there isn't a history of, Russian servitude in America or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So I was watching the next season of Worst Cooks in America is on Food Network right now. And it's one of my guilty bingers because I love how the editors edit that show. They make it really silly, and I have a good chuckle every once in a while. Mm. And they're doing like a celebrity one, and it's one of the people that's in the kitchen is Joey from Full House, and he does all those voices and stuff. Yeah, and he's just kind of a goofy guy, and he did all these voices and these accents here in the very first episode, and I was like,
yeah, he's like an old comic. So I mean, it's crazy.
Dave Coulier?
Yeah, Dave Coulier.
Yeah.
Dave
Coulier. That's who the legend the supposedly that's the Alanis Morissette "You Ought to Know" song is about him. He's the one she's given head to in the theater. No joke. I'm not. I mean, that's just like that's the rumor. I mean, I don't know that. I don't think she's ever been like yes, but yeah, they apparently dated. Yeah, it makes watching Full House when you think about these things.
Close your mouth, Danae. We are not codfish.
Have you really never heard that?
No, I've never heard that, but now I'm really upset with that guy. Suddenly, I don't like him at all.
But that may not even be true.
I like how you just threw it. Yeah, it might not even. It's probably
not
true. It's like the Sheryl Crow song, "My Favorite Mistake," is supposedly Eric Clapton, and I mean, but you never know.
You ought to know. Think of the gauntlet that the Simpsons have had to run, being on the air for so long. When they started, it was no big deal for Hank Azaria to do. A poo. What was that, like 7-8 years ago? That became like Yeah, and within the last couple years, he has told them he's not willing to do it anymore. So
that's what it was. I knew something had happened recently because
so
I don't watch it anymore.
So, and you know what? Culture changes. I think it makes sense. The point is, you never want to hurt someone. You never want to hurt someone's feelings. So if someone expresses to you, "Hey, this hurts my feelings," you stop doing it, right? Like,
I watched Heathers Friday night. I hadn't seen Heathers in like 25 years, and it absolutely holds up. I mean, it's a hell of a movie, and it's a really smart script and everything, but there is a lot of like gay slurs, and there's, you know, the way they do bullying in that, like the way they do the bullies in that movie is really not appropriate. And but at the same time, it's also a satire, so you kind of look at it from that perspective as well. But in the 80s, I mean, a lot of those slurs were just in every movie. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah. It's weird.
I think it's okay. Culture changes, and we have to do our best. You know.
I'll listen to your guys' conversation whenever I listen to the podcast later, because I totally checked out and have been researching all of Alanis Morissette songs this entire time.
You wanna know?
Me.
All right,
me.
We ready?
Me.
Yeah. Let me get ready to laugh. Introduce the show.
Me.
Get ready to interrupt the introduction.
Yeah, while Danae does her dancing.
Her sexy dancing.
Guys, I was just moving my shoulders.
I know, that's why it was a joke. It was funny.
But
then Aaron took it into weird territories.
Yeah, I do this, and suddenly, whoa.
Suddenly you want it.
Suddenly.
I moved my left shoulder back 3 inches. I want you.
I don't know what Justin is into, and if Justin might be a shoulder guy, and if he is, he probably married the right person because she moves her shoulders.